there, and thank you for joining us for More, a program that explores the inner journeys of people who seek more success in their lives. Our show is born out of the work I do as an executive coach, working with CEOs and senior executives across North America, people who want to realize more of themselves than they have to date. I find it useful to have this client base as a reference point because these people aren't slugs. They've accumulated great wealth for themselves. They have achieved the highest of accolades and been acknowledged for the returns they've netted their shareholders. And yet, they want more. And even better than that still is that they know there's more. So whether you're a CEO of an organization or someone who just wants to be the CEO of your own life, there is always more. There's more to learn, there's more to put into relationships, there's more to grow, more to achieve for yourself, and most importantly, more of you to be. But let's first ask ourselves, as everyone, let's just stop right now and ask ourselves, what is it that I want more of in my life? I think if we ask ourselves what it is that we're wanting more of, and then be honest when the answer comes, much changes. The question itself opens up a universe of possibilities that may not have been considered before. So much so that we may even be really surprised by the answers we receive back. I know I was. Ironically, when I answered that question for myself, so much changed. It led to more financial success, self-satisfaction, happiness, joy, and an absolute conviction in the limitless of possibilities. It doesn't matter who we are or where we've been. It only matters where we're headed. And it is such a clear and simple strategy. We just make it more complicated than it needs to be and worry about all the what-ifs. It's an oversimplified approach, I guess, because it doesn't give answers to all the questions we have. But perhaps that's what we need to be okay with, the not knowing. I know that I've tried to stop telling myself that I need to know, and that now all I focus on is that there are 5 things that really matter to me in my life, and I try to ensure that they're never really in jeopardy. But honestly, even if they were in jeopardy, I don't know how much that would deter me, because I do ultimately trust and believe that we're made with intelligent designs, so we have the ability to achieve the vivid pictures our minds paint for us. Is the world your oyster? Is that what your mindset represents? It is something we have to be intentional about. Do you know who you are? Do you know where you impose the limits on yourself? Joining us today is someone who knows her more and has the courage, determination, and perseverance to make it happen. Our guest is Mary Aitkin, founder and managing director of Verity, a women's club in downtown Toronto. Mary began her career in financial services in the UK. Upon moving to Canada, she began a courier business that grew to 120 employees. In 1984, Mary registered with the Ontario Securities Commission and founded an investment banking company. During that time, she also syndicated and operated a residential investment income in South Kensington, London, England. In 1993, Mary, with her husband, co-founded a company that is now listed on the TSX and known as the Neomaterial Technologies Incorporated. The company has over 1,600 employees around the world. When I first met Mary, I was struck mostly by her poise, confidence, and tigress instinct. Upon speaking with her, I'm struck by the inclusiveness she radiated. It's not often I meet women who capture as elegantly these two seemingly opposite mindsets and know that it is an ability that can only add to any woman's success. And that's why I'm so excited about you joining with us today. You've done amazing things in your career, and the Verity Club being the most recent. And we're going to get into talking more about your club for women here in Toronto. But first, I want to just thank you, Mary, for being on our show.
Well, thank you, Sheba. The pleasure's mine.
Great. So, you've done so much. Something had to have been driving you throughout all this. I'm curious what some of those standards were. I mean, you went from a courier business to trading securities and then starting your own investment fund and things like that, and then this company now with your husband, and then of course the Verity Club. What's been your driver? Like, has it been money that's been the pursuer? Or what have you been doing all this for?
Well, I think early on I figured out that I wasn't somebody who was suited to work in corporations. I was basically totally unsuitable and perhaps even unemployable. So if you're unemployable, you have to start your own company. So I did that, and as I went along, I'm a curious person, so I'm always interested in learning new things and new skills and new industries. So I guess that's the driving force, is curiosity.
So you have a high intellectual capacity that wants to get its head around as much as you can, obviously.
Well, I don't know about the capacity, but curiosity, yes.
So what are the standards then that you hold yourself most accountable to in all your endeavors now? Okay, one side, yes, as long as it fulfills your curiosity and has some intellectual content. What else do you seek?
Well, I mean, I think I've gone through a number of companies that I've started, and in all of those companies there's been intellectual curiosity, and yes, there were economic realities that had to be met. And I spent some time as a single parent, so certainly during those years one had to pay the mortgage and pay the bills and so forth. So clearly I was driven by financial interest during certain years, but your motivation, I think, changes as you go through life. And my current business, the Verity Club, is actually, I've reached the stage now where I want to give back. And through all those years, I was in basically male-dominated businesses, and I was frequently the only woman on boards of companies that I served on, be they school boards or public companies. And it seems to me that a company is better served with more women on its board or in senior positions. So how does one do something in perhaps the last chapter that addresses that? And so this is what I wanted to do. So it's my passion. And it's easy to go to work every day if that's your passion.
And it's your passion, again, why? Because it's now giving you an opportunity to give back? Because it's addressing the woman population? Why is it a passion?
All of the above. It's a passion because I saw that women simply weren't able to progress in their lives and their businesses because they were constantly fighting the battle of time. Women struggle, they don't have enough time. We have more responsibilities than men. And if we're working in senior positions, there's no time. We're going between work and home. And we don't have the luxury of networking and mentors. And we suffer all the stereotypes, and we've all heard the jokes. So it seemed to me, what is it that women need to get beyond this? And I thought of my own life in terms of juggling all of this. And I never went out with the guys for a beer after work and talked about how we resolve certain issues. I'm rushing home to deal with homework issues. So if there would be a third space, and this is what I wanted to create.
How did your own self-awareness grow then to make this unfolding possible? I mean, I get what you're saying. Wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture. I have to go home, look after some kids, and get some homework done. These guys are going out for a brewski and talking about the day. How did your own self-awareness kind of bring you to here?
Well, I think it's a self-awareness driven by needs. And I wouldn't have been anywhere else but going home to my children because that's where I wanted to be. So it's not that I was envious of the guys going off for a beer.
No, it's just a reality,
Although on the other hand, some deals would be done when they're off having a beer, and I would come in and find out, oh, don't worry, Mary, it's all sorted out. And oh boy, I got the homework done, but missed out on that. So it was the recognition that you make choices. And I made the choice happily, but it seemed to me that there could be something that was the middle ground where women could meet and connect, and women could connect with other women. And women, as hokey as it may sound, women helping women. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I'm doing.
Mary, I want to get into that more, but right now we have to go to a quick break, so we'll be right back and we'll speak more with Mary. Stay tuned.
What are you learning from the broadcasts you watch? What information are you getting? Dex TV brings you focused economic news from our correspondents around the globe. More than charts and graphs, we broadcast hundreds of interviews every week, giving you a different viewpoint on the most relevant stories. Our purpose is clear, to provide you with the tools and the information you need to make informed economic decisions. Visit us at dex.tv.
Hi there, welcome back. You're watching More, and I'm Sheba Varghese. With me today is Mary Aitkin of Verity Club. Mary, again, we've talked about kind of the evolution, the unfolding of Mary to bring the Verity Club into its existence. That being said, what is it that you're searching more of for yourself in your own life right now?
I want to find more passion in my life. And spending the last years in doing the business I was doing in the financial business, it was gratifying in all kinds of ways. But the more for me was what's missing, what's a challenge that adds something to my core values. And one of my core values had to do, I discovered, with women. Because I'd spent all these years, as I just boringly rapped on about, in terms of through these male industries and traveling around the world with geologists and engineers, most of whom tend to be men, being the only woman and only woman, and finding that there must be a reason that women are held back from this. We're only holding ourselves back, but how do we deal with the shortage of time? How can that be addressed? And that's why I wanted to do this. So I guess that's the more for me. It's going after an achievement that gives me fulfillment, because isn't that what we're all after? In the end, we've got that voice inside us that is either feeling rewarded by what we're doing every day or not. And if it's not, then hopefully we reach out and do something, even if there's some risk attached to it, to grapple with that and bring more into our lives.
You know, that's great, and it resonates for so many reasons on so many levels, and yet I hear idealism in that. Not that there's not a place for idealism. I mean, it has to be driving us. But your passion, your search is such a challenging one. It's such a tough one to really realize any major gains on. I'm curious, though, because I respect that totally. What are you noticing the domino effect as a result of your willingness to say, this is what I'm going to kind of sink my teeth into for the next little while?
Well, I don't think it's so challenging, because all around me, you have to understand that my reality is living in this club, which I do for long hours every day, with 700 women who are all reaching out and searching to expand in their lives and build their careers and build better lives between their families and their workplace. So I see it every day. So to me, I don't think it's so odd or weird. And I think women can have it all. And I see women in the club who are having it all. And I don't find it so odd that women take on positions of power and still maintain lots of their femininity. I mean, you look at people like Madeleine Albright, who was perhaps the best Secretary of State the U.S. ever had, and she didn't start her work until really officially 39. And she didn't work her way through the State Department. She was at home raising twins. And she was taking courses and doing things, but by George, she got into the saddle and she let loose. So I see women who want to have it all and not give up their families or femininity or their ideals. And I truly believe it's possible, because I'm seeing it.
I never said it wasn't possible, because I agree with you, it is possible.
You said it was idealistic.
It's idealistic. I don't say idealistic as not real, as not possible. It's idealistic, and it has to be driven and supported by so much of what we bring to the table in our belief. So I really acknowledge that, and it strikes me, and that's something I'll have to kind of be with on my own time. But what is the domino effect you've seen as a result? I mean, this would be one potential domino effect. Like, for example, you're opening up my eyes right now at this moment. Same for those people who are watching us and getting more and more intrigued about what your Verity Club is about. What are the other domino effects that you've seen, whether it's in men, whether it's in your own life, whether it's in the women at the club?
Well, I think it's that perhaps there aren't lots of women in the workplace. Well, we know that. That was a silly thing to say. There are growing more and more women in the workplace, taking senior positions. But there hasn't been large numbers over the years. And perhaps that's the idea that women are competitive out there and they don't help each other. I see the reverse in this club. I see women reaching out to each other, connecting, whether it's how to deal with a problem child or perhaps an errant husband, God forbid, how to deal with work matters, how to deal with issues of all kinds of issues in the workplace that one can't discuss necessarily with one's peers, with one's family, with one's friends. And this kind of a connection, I mean, there's nothing really new about this. Men have done it forever. Had clubs where they congregated and talked through business problems, connected, gave each other business, got to know each other's values, and then did business. And that's all we're trying to do. And it's because women are so busy, we haven't had time to do that before. And now women are. So the domino effect is watching the effect it's having on women's lives, the business they're doing as a result of being in this environment that's incredibly supportive.
What surprises you of how all this has played out from a you perspective? What surprises you about Mary?
How happy it makes me feel. I mean, everything I've done in my life has sort of been about feathering my nest with lots of kids and going on holidays and nice things for the house and the school fees and all of those monetary considerations. And a happy family, of course, is way before that. But my work life has largely been concerned with providing the wherewithal to have those things. And I'm not here to discuss whether those things made our family happier and whether we would have been less happy without them. That's not the point. That was just what I did. And I find now that I gain so much more satisfaction, and I'm so much more in tune with what I really believe in and what matters by being in this environment. And I would never have thought that. I entered this to do something for women, and also because I'm a businesswoman. Business turns me on. You shouldn't do a business if you're an idealist without having some business skills and acumen and enjoyment of business, and I have all of that, I think. So there was a business model, and it's a very different business model than clubs normally have, because it encompasses public entities like a restaurant, a spa, and flower shop. But at the heart of it all, it's about women. And I can't believe how excited that makes me.
Well,
I'm glad the business part's working, but it's the other part that really turns me on.
Well, it's neat because, I did say idealism, but I think that when you start putting a business model in place and doing what I've seen you do at that facility, which is amazing, there's definitely vision took over. Right? The idealism got bumped out by vision, and you're on to something. So I'm going to interrupt you again. We're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned.
When do we cover news at Dex TV? When it's relevant and when it has context. Dex TV broadcasts live from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. the entire North American business day. We look at long-term trends by delivering proactive and purposeful coverage. For catching up on world events, The Close is Dex TV's daily finale, combining all the key news in a comprehensive end-of-day package. Our detailed archives allow you to search through all of our shows, segments, and interviews. Information when you want it, at any time, on demand. Visit us at dex.tv.
Thanks for joining us as we speak with Mary Aitkin, founder of Verity Club, a downtown venue for women who want to invest in their personal and professional well-beings. So this club of yours, I heard you talk about, there's the support, there's that stuff, and that's good, and there's a place for that. And where does the Mary piece show up when you think of how this club appeals to professional women? Like, where's Mary's stamp on that?
Well, I think my stamp is to make people comfortable when they come and do business, because it's so much easier to hash through difficult, thorny problems and come up with solutions if you're in a comfortable, amiable environment where service happens readily and efficiently and you don't have to think about any of that. I want people to come and focus on their business meeting and not focus on all the extraneous issues.
So what if we don't come with a corporation? What is it there for the professional woman then?
Well, then there's the stimulation of all of the arts and culture part of the club. There's speakers, there's ways that you're stimulated that you'd never think you might be interested in because you don't have the time.
Well, how do those things reflect your own evolution and awareness? Because I would not have thought, that those aren't things that I would necessarily look for in a club. But I haven't been shaped by the same experiences as you have. So I'm curious how your own experiences and awareness prompted you to make it how it is.
Because anything I do where I'm thrust into a foreign environment or I'm learning new things, I feel like I've grown somewhat. And I feel like when I come back to my mundane, whatever it is I'm working on, I'm better for it because I've been stimulated. I've been taken out of that thrashing through the resolution of a problem or a situation, whether it's a situation with children or work. And it's taken me out. So it's an intellectual stimulation, which you're forced to consider from a different perspective. So when you go back into your other problem solving, you're kind of refreshed. It's like working out physically. You come back and the endorphins are racing around. Maybe they're intellectual endorphins. I don't know, but that's what I think it does.
So why? And you know, not to make this about the club, but it's just I'm so fascinated and intrigued about what you're trying to do and how that's a reflection of you or more. So I can't not have this discussion with you without thinking of the club. Someone like myself, why would I want to join your club? I mean, you use the words hokey, you've used the words corny. I'm not agreeing with those words. You've used them. I'm just curious, like, what is the appeal for somebody, for myself? Why would I want to join? What would that give me?
Well, lots of people say that, and they think, why would I want to join this thing? I mean, I've got, and they tick the boxes. I've got fitness covered, I've got intellectual stimulation meeting rooms and so forth. And I think it's the access to the membership. It's access to an extraordinary group of diverse and dynamic women. So it's women who are totally different, and I think that stimulates one. One is stimulated by when one is thrust into having a conversation that you would never have in your normal course of life. What I know is that people join the club, they find they use it
but
and
Mary,
get out of it different things.
You've had such a remarkable career. You've done it all without a club. Lots of women before you.
I wish I'd had it.
Interesting, okay. So now you're doing it. It's a huge investment of time and energy and money. It's just huge. I can't imagine the headaches associated. It's like huge, as well as the rewards and the passion that you talked about. I guess, how are you going to, at the end of the day, measure its effectiveness? What is going to be your ROI to be able to say, you know what, well done, Mary?
I measure it every day, Sheba, when I walk through the club. I don't mean to exaggerate this, and I don't mean this to sound commercial, but I walk through that club, and several times a week, people say to me, this is so fabulous, Mary, it's changed my life. And to hear those words, I mean, isn't that pretty empowering?
You bet.
If someone told you that whatever you had done, whether you personally, but something you had created, had had an impact on their life and changed their life. I mean, wow. That's what I get to hear. So, yeah, there's tons of headaches, and I don't want to bore you with those, but there are lots of them. And I hear those, too, when I walk through the club. But when I hear the words that it's changed my life, I mean, that's a huge opportunity.
Sure, that's a great ROI. You bet, you bet. Now, when you kind of check in, how often do you check in with yourself to kind of keep a pulse on what are you what are you needing more of in your life? Like, is that something that you do regularly? Is that something you do once a year? Is it kind of something you're bored, you realize I'm bored, I'm going to ask myself, what do I need more of? How do you do that kind of self-inventory?
Well, because there's so many businesses encompassed in what I'm doing right now, I don't have time during the day to check in. But I do in the summer, and I have a place in Georgian Bay, which is my spiritual home. So that's where I check in, if you will. And that's where I check in with those sort of core values and that intuitive faculty, that sense of core and what are the things that one needs to feel good about one's life in the short time we have here. That's where I do that, sitting on smooth rocks and looking at cold water and swimming around and thinking, my God, how can I be this lucky to be here? It's so beautiful.
Good for you. Well, it sounds like you have found, so much of what it is you're looking for, and you've given back in a huge way. And unfortunately, that is our time for today. So I thank you very much for joining us. And again, I just am struck by the inclusiveness and your forward focus, because they're both humbling and inspiring. And so it's a very interesting mix for me, and I keep going over it and saying it. But anyways.
Well, I'm looking forward to welcoming you to the club as a member.
The pressure. This is a propaganda piece. We didn't talk about it. Anyways, so thank you so much for sharing with our viewers today. Did you even know that more existed? Did you actually know that there are men and women, professionals to tradespeople, parents to children, husbands to wives, whoever you are? Did you know that it was okay to question why? In fact, did you know that if you don't question more, there is a pretty good chance that you're going to be left behind? We've spoken of the predictability associated with understanding the universal laws. The law of resonance, though, is the one that I want to focus on for a bit right now. Paraphrase, the law of resonance states just simply that depending on the quality of our mindsets, the corresponding events and outcomes will be realized and more of the same generated. So what this means is that we have to be aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our wants, and our wishes at any given point in time. Because if we're not, we may end up at more of those family functions feeling like a total outsider. Be forewarned, because having standards that you hold others accountable for may cost you some of those relationships. And if that is what is most important to your short term, we wish you well, and that's the route you've got to go. For me, my mindset only welcomes and wants other minds that believe in the possibilities inherent in everything around us. I want everything I do to be governed by a fair exchange with truth as the barometer. And of course, those are all aspirations and objectives and goals that I've set for myself. All we can do is to communicate our needs and wants to others and hold others accountable to them. And to the degree we do this and they respect it, the healthier all our relationships will be. Our intention is not to make this more confusing for you, this pursuit for more, but rather to provide you with signposts so that you can realize more. Identifying our needs is straightforward enough, but as my son points out, it's not enough to just know which toys you want more of, but of what you as a person need more of. Please know that you're invited to contact us via our blog for any reason you want, and soon we're going to be posting them. Thank you for watching the show, and please know that next week you're invited back to join us for an interview with my good dear friend, Dr. Colleen Braun, president of Bion Consulting. Until then, remember to only and always live for truth. Thank you, and take care.